Okay, so let's introduce the players. We have the blue Terran player spawning in the lower right position. It is from EC Visualize, Daz.
Nice. And in the bottom left corner, it is from Team ESC, and not to be confused with ECV, it is JackO.
It is indeed.
And JackO is from Luxembourg. I think he's the only participant from Luxembourg that we have.
Oh, not. Actually, yeah, it is true. Sorry,
Okay.
I almost got confused there. So, let's see what the opening for these two guys will be. Already, we can see that Daz is going to go for a command center first, since he did not follow this up with the barracks. And
Okay. So he's saving up money.
Yep.
And from this, you deduce that he's going to build a command center.
Yep, definitely he is. JackO is opening with a gateway. You know, as a Protoss, you generally don't want to go for a Nexus first. It's not really that viable, but what you can do is you can go for gateway into a Nexus, into a Cyber Core. We're still not having any gases being taken by JackO, so this could very well be the case. We'll have to wait and see. There's the command center, and I think JackO getting very lucky on his scout here. He sees the command center, and I think he'll go for the Nexus first as well. He knows that there will be a small amount of threats that Daz will be able to put him under with this.
Right. Okay, so you say he's lucky with the scout because this is a 4-player map, of course, and
Yep.
so you don't know where your opponent is going to spawn, and so JackO just sent a probe out to the bottom right and found his opponent right away. I've got a question for you, Bell. You're right, by the way, about the Nexus going down. Got a question about the positioning of the gateway in JackO's base. Does that have a particular purpose to put it there? I haven't seen that before.
This just goes to show that JackO is really thinking far ahead in this game, and he's making a really cute wall off here in the back. And this is to limit Reaper maneuverability or Hellions if his opponent decides to do something like that, which is, you know, not really all that common. But Terran players sometimes they do go mech, they do go Hellion or Hellbat drops, and this partial wall off between the minerals in the back of his base basically limits the movement so that he can defend a little bit better.
Right, you can drive the Hellions or Reapers into a corner, basically, which you wouldn't be able to do if they could just loop around.
He's also making a partial wall off on his other side. He's got a pylon below his second geyser. Also, this has one neat benefit. It makes the scouting a little bit more difficult for the Terran opponent. So he may have, you know, if you were, for example, to put a tech building down there, he would have to scan it as opposed to just get a unit there, because that unit would probably have died before it reached the spot where he could see the building. The follow-up from the Terran player is interesting. He's still playing gasless. He's continuing this on with 3 barracks.
That's a lot of barracks, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. He'll have a lot of Marines. He could try to go for a push once the Marine numbers climb sufficiently high enough. But, you know, most of the time Stalkers are just going to rule the battlefield due to their mobility, due to their range for the most part. And JackO with 2 Stalkers, he's going to be completely and perfectly fine versus this. Let's see if he scouted those barracks with
the Marines keep coming. Daz is not making any add-ons on his barracks, just churning out Marines.
Yeah, he only just recently took his refineries. He doesn't really have the gas to add very many add-ons. There's a tech lab that only costs 25 gas. So he's going to go for a quick steam here. And before he slams on any additional add-ons, I would wager that he'll get a refinery and try to get a starport. And there's the SCV scouts getting taken out by the 1 Stalker that remained there, but I think, no. The second Stalker is just positioned at the watchtower, so if we take a look at the positioning of JackO, he's playing this very defensively, and behind this he's getting an observer, so he really wants to know what the follow-up will be, and he's adding on more gateways to be able to churn out units when needed.
I've got a question for you about Daz's play. So Daz doesn't seem to be attacking before his stim finishes, right? So he's waiting for stim. So why did he wait so long to start researching stim and build some Marines instead, with which he didn't do anything? Was this just purely for the fence?
You know, it's when you...
Or maybe he thought, well, I'm going to do this, and if I see the opportunity...
There are 2 things you can do with this. Obviously, it helps a ton when you have a lot of Marines early game. Nice scan, by the way, from Daz. But he did miss the Robo base, so he's still not sure if his opponent will be going Templar or Robotech. He did see those early gases, so it could be either. But back to your question, it never hurts to have a lot of Marines in your base, and if this was a Stargate follow-up off of that Stalker opening, which it could have been, if JackO decided not to throw down that Robo, you need like 6 Marines to kill an Oracle safely, and with this opening, you know, the engineering base come a little bit later because you want to be getting double upgrades, as Daz is doing right now, so you won't have any missile turrets really. So instead of Oracle harassment, you just need those Marine numbers so that you can defend both your mineral lines, not just one of them.
Cool. Alright, thanks. I can see that Daz is keeping a lot of Marines in the back of his base, maybe anticipating some kind of flying unit coming in there. Like an observer, by the way. We just saw an observer scoot around, but both Daz and JackO were very aware of the positioning of that observer, carefully scooting around each other.
He didn't actually get a good scout on the Terran, but considering the opening, you know, there's not a whole lot of different things that you can do as a Terran player when you open gasless with a CC first. There are also very limited ways of how the Protoss can punish such an opening. That is also true. Now the stim has finished, and the first 2 medevacs are on the way. So yeah, that Stalker needs to get the hack. Well, maybe not.
Right. Okay.
Gets taken out, so that's a loss for JackO, but it does give him a heads up, and he knows that he has to start warping in units non-stop. His first Colossus is already out. Force fields will be key here.
Here we go. Whoa. And those, there go the Marauders.
The Marauders are actually a very important part of this composition because they get a bonus versus the Stalkers and versus the Colossi, which is the most important part. With the second Colossus coming onto the field, however, JackO will be quite safe. And ooh, what is this? A second starport being added on by Daz, and additional barracks, no third command center being built. I think he's going for a 2-base timing here. He's going to try to get a lot of medevacs and a lot of Vikings, but predominantly a lot of Vikings. We might even see an SCV pull, because if he can get his Viking count up to like 12 or 14, with the additional barracks production that he's slamming on right now, he's going to have a very large army, and with the number of Vikings he's going to be fielding, he can take down the Colossi really quickly, use the SCVs as a buffer until those Colossi are down, and then he can move in with his infantry, healed up by the medevacs, and finish the job.
But have you got enough income on 2 bases to support lots of Vikings, medevacs, and a bio army?
No, basically what you do, you build up the Viking number and get your army size to as high of a number as possible, and then you just go for it. Obviously you don't take all of your SCVs if you think that you might not be able to finish the Protoss off straight away. You might just go for a crippling strike on him and then just wear him down with multi-dropping, basically, because without those Colossi and with only gateway units and with equal upgrades, if you drop like 2 medevacs in the main base and then 2 medevacs in the natural, the Protoss will have a tough time dealing with that. We can see that there are no SCVs in production, so I'm really expecting that SCV pull. But this is off of 2 bases, 2 command centers, not 3, so it's kind of like a one-shot weapon. If this won't work, then
here we go. There's the move out. By the way, a quick note, JackO is using a Zealot to scout all the top bases and see if his opponent really is not sporting a 3rd base somewhere.
Yeah, because he did not see the 3rd here in the center of the map with his observer, so he is becoming a little bit suspicious. He sees the army right now. 1-1 is... Oh, actually, that's a 2-2 timing.
Wow.
For the Terran player. The upgrades will be, well, relatively even. The Terran is slightly ahead. The Protoss needs to chrono boost into his units as opposed to his upgrades right now. JackO adding on 2 additional gateways, just about to finish as he realizes this is not a 3-base play. There are the SCVs. Not very many of them were left back home to mine. In fact, he took all of those.
But there's only 8 Vikings for 4 Colossi, but the position is not bad. There's a big arc for the Terran, and the Force fields are working against the Protoss, just blocking all the Zealots.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's enough Stalkers here to take down those Vikings fast enough before they take down the Colossi. 2 Colossi remaining The Terran needs to focus these downs. There are no more force fields here, and this should be a win.
This is it. GG.